Welcome to this collection of fascinating photographs and stories. In this video, we'll take a journey through time and explore some incredible moments captured on camera. So sit back, relax, and join us as we dive into the past and discover the intriguing tales behind these captivating images. Let's begin with a young Helen Mirren, dressed for her role as Cleopatra in a National Youth Theatre production of Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra in 1965. Next, we have Jasmine Trevanna, aka Yasmin the Fire Eater, at home in Cricklewood, London in 1961, followed by competitors Lou Ferrigno and Billy Crystal at the Battle of the Network Stars in 1978. Did you know that Marilyn Monroe was an athletic woman who jogged, rode horses, and stayed in shape? This photo from the 1950s, and in a Sports Illustrated celebrity interview, she even expressed admiration for female athletes, saying, "These women champions are very strong. I've always envied them their nice muscles." Moving on, we have Mary Tyler Moore in 1960. Mariska Hargitay's parents, Mickey and Jane, at the Makeup Artist Ball in September 1956. And who could forget the brilliant Grace Hopper at the UNIVAC Icon Seoul in 1960. Sophia Loren is next, meeting Queen Sofia of Spain in 1963 while filming Fall of the Roman Empire. Unfortunately, she seems to have taken a few bumps. We then take a jump forward to 1991, where we see an 18-year-old prostitute named Katya standing next to a police car on a street near Red Square in the USSR. And in 1974, a student is seen behind the wheel of a driver's ed simulator. Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh makes an appearance in one of her first films, Yes, Madam, in 1985, followed by Navy pilots playing basketball in the forward elevator while aboard U.S. Monterey in 1944, with the jumper on the left being future U.S. President Gerald Ford. Moving on, we have a photo of an early 1970s same-sex wedding, which, though not legal, was still common among couples. An American tourist in Havana in the 1950s is also shown. Followed by Bela Lugosi and his dog at the gate of his home in Los Angeles in 1934. We then travel back to the 1930s to see a knocker upper, whose job it was to wake people up by shooting dried peas at their windows. Mary Smith earned 6 pence a week doing this job in London, as captured by photographer John Topham, who sold the photo for £5, a week's wages back then. The 1980s saw classic BMX freestyling. Followed by families before the introduction of the contraceptive pill in the 1960s. And farm life in rural Hungary in the 1940s, 1960s. Jane Dieulafoy is next, photographed in 1895. Dieulafoy was a transgressive novelist who famously wore men's clothes. Having gained special permission to do so, wearing pants was illegal for most women in France. She also fought in the Franco-Prussian War and excavated the ancient city of Susa with her husband. A Sami man and child in Finnmark, Norway, circa 1900. Is followed by actress Jane Fonda posing on a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun in Hanoi during the Vietnam War in July 1972, earning her the nickname Hanoi Jane. The following slide shows a group of people hanging out at a bus stop in Chicago in 1971. Moving further back in history, we see Tsar Nicholas II of Russia and La Tsarina on an official visit to the Argentine frigate, Sarmiento, in the Russian port city of Kronstadt in August 1902. The next slide showcases food prices from a 1973 newspaper ad, giving us a sense of how much things cost back then. Following that is a picture of Marlon Westcott and Ruth Lichterman, reprogramming ENIAC, the first general-purpose electronic computer, in 1946. We then see a photograph of Hans Langseth from 1912, who had the longest beard ever recorded at 17.5 feet on his last day. The next slide features Shirley Temple presenting Walt Disney with an honorary Academy Award for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1939. The following slide shows Richard Nixon and Nikita Khrushchev having a heated debate in Sokolniki Park in Moscow in 1959. We also see a photograph of Robert Oppenheimer, the director of the Manhattan Project, and Ernest Lawrence, a Nobel physicist, looking pretty cool in the 1930s. The video then moves on to a photograph of John Kennedy campaigning in Brighton, MA in 1960. This is followed by a shocking image of the engine and part of the wing of a USAF B-25 Mitchell bomber, protruding from the north side of the Empire State Building after crashing into the 79th floor in thick fog in July 1945, killing 14 people. We then see a sailor aboard the US CGS Storis off the coast of Greenland in 1947, followed by Texas Rangers with Winchester carbines in 1883. The next slide features the Indianapolis Cycle Club in 1897. Moving on to a woman who can be described as an absolute legend, we see Helene Dutrieu in 1911. Her nickname was the Human Arrow, and she was a cycling champion, stunt motorcyclist, racing car driver, stunt driver, pioneer aviator, war ambulance driver, and director of a military hospital. The following slide features Tony Hawk in 1989 driving his famous Pizza Hut truck. We then see the only black soldier of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Ali Mahmut, Simon Paris, in 1915 during the Great War. The next slide showcases two German soldiers in 1916. We then see two kids playing cops and robbers in the mid-1950s. The second to last slide showcases Warsaw uprising insurgents preparing weapons on a captured carpet in 1944. And the final slide features a World War II Finnish soldier with a signal dog, an M1000, 891 Mosin, circa 1940.